The Atlanta Braves are already in major need of a jolt to get them going this season, and they could have several of those on the way with many key members set to return soon. We'll talk about that and discuss everything happening down on the farm in today's episode of Locked On Braves. So let's get into it.
You are Locked On Braves, your daily Atlanta Braves podcast, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey, and welcome back to Locked On Braves, part of Locked On Sports Atlanta, where we cover your favorite Atlanta sports teams each and every day. I'm your host, Jake Mastroianni. You can follow me on social media at Shortstop Ball. Check out the podcast there at LockedOn_Braves on X and Locked On Braves on Instagram. Subscribe if you're new and watching this on YouTube. Hit that thumbs up button and leave me a comment down below. It does help out the show a ton when you do that, so I very much appreciate it. If you're listening on the audio version, you can help me out by leaving a 5-star review on Apple, Spotify, or wherever you get your podcast. In today's episode of Locked On Braves, we're going to be looking at some key members that could be returning soon. Spencer Strider, Sean Murphy, Alex Verdugo, Ronald Acuna Jr. We'll get updates on all of those guys and where they're at. And then we'll break down everything that's happening on the farm as the 4 full season teams are underway now. So a lot to discuss that's happening at the minor league level. And then we'll quickly set up Tuesday's game against the Phillies with Chris Sale set to go up against Zack Wheeler. Should be a fun matchup. I'm also going to have a crossover episode with Connor from Locked On Phillies coming your way on Tuesday. We'll break down that series in full detail, so look out for that. As should be a fun series. I don't know that I'm exactly excited to face the Phillies right now, but maybe it's what the Braves need to get them going. Who knows at this point? This episode is brought to you by Monarch Money. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. It's an understatement to say that the Atlanta Braves 2025 season has gotten off to a rough start. 1-8 is atrocious, terrible, all of the bad things that you can say. And I've been pretty negative on the last couple of episodes. Today, I want to try to be a little bit more positive and looking at the fact that there could be some significant help on the way for this team. One thing you see throughout a Major League Baseball season is that oftentimes when you get a team member back from injury, when you trade to get a new player, it sometimes can lift a team up. Now, you hope you don't have to rely on that in the first month of the season, but with the start that the Braves have gotten, getting any kind of new influx of energy into your team, into your clubhouse can be really good. And I think the Braves have a couple of those guys coming that could potentially help change the energy and focus in that clubhouse and hopefully get them going. Again, we're grasping at straws. We're looking for anything at this point. Let's start with Spencer Strider, who I think is the ultimate jolt that the Braves can get right now, at least in the pitching side of things, and one that is closer than most to returning. In his latest rehab outing, he went 5 1/3 innings, no hits, did walk 2 batters, but no earned runs and 8 strikeouts on 75 pitches. It was a hard 75 pitch count there as he had a 1-2 count on a batter, and they took him out right at that 75th pitch. 3 hard hits against, so not a lot of hard contact against him. 14 whiffs on 37 swings. That's a 38% whiff percentage, which is really good. 6 of 11 of those on the slider. Pretty typical for him to see about a 40 to 50% whiff rate on that slider. 31% CSW percentage. That's okay. I mean, everything over 30 is good, but I would honestly hope for a little bit more than that at the minor league level for Spencer Strider, but 8 strikeouts. I mean, no hits. He was certainly incredible. The induced vertical break on his four-seam fastball was 16 inches. That's down 1 from his 2022 average, but again, still very good. The four-seamer averaged 96 miles per hour, topped out at 97.7 miles per hour. In his last start in 2022, he averaged 98 with the fastball and topped out at 99.5. I would imagine the adrenaline of pitching in the big leagues, it's going to get that velo back up to 98, 99. The last start that I just referenced in 2022, it was the final start of the year against the rival Phillies. Certainly a lot of adrenaline pumping in there, and I think that will come back. So I'm not too concerned about the velocity at the moment. And as I said yesterday with Spencer Schwellenbach, one thing that they are starting to really figure out, and it's kind of one of those things that, pitchers that pitch close to their max velocity end up getting injured more often. And so I'm okay with you not pitching so close to your max velo. If Spencer Strider wants to sit 95, 96 and just rear back for 97, 98, 99 when he needs to, that's okay. And you can certainly live like that. It can help you go deeper into the games and hopefully keep you healthier. So I'm certainly fine if that's what he's doing. And I'm okay with that. So I'm not really concerned about the velocity. And like I said, I think once he's in that big league setting, you're going to see him be able to get up there. It's not like 96 is nothing, especially with the carry that he normally gets on that fastball in the zone, the extension that he has. It gets on hitters quickly. So it's not like 96 is worrisome. I'd be worried if he came back and he was sitting, 93, 94 with the fastball and topping out at 96, 97, but that hasn't really been the case. They've already said that Spencer Strider will make another rehab start. I understand that the want from Braves fans, especially with the way things are going, to try to get him back at the big league level as soon as possible, especially after he throws, 5 1/3 no-hit innings. But especially with the rain out too, you weren't going to be able to bring him back for that Phillies series, or you could, but then you'd push Spencer Schwellenbach back a day. So I think it's smart to just go ahead and give him another rehab start. It's going to be next Thursday. And then my guess all along has been that he would come back for that homestand, which starts with the Twins and the Cardinals, and he'd likely pitch in that Twins series. You could bring him back for the road trip to Toronto if you wanted to, or just wait. And like I said, maybe pitch that Friday opener at home against the Twins, I think would be a pretty good spot for him. But that does mean you're going to have to get Bryce Elder in the rotation likely 2 more times. So we'll see how the Braves handle it. But I'd be shocked if he's not up in the big leagues after his next start, assuming everything goes well. They bump him up to 85, 90 pitches in his next start. Everything goes well. He responds well. The arm responds well. I think we'll see him either pitch on the road in Toronto or at home against the Twins the week after that. Now, another bat that could be coming soon to help out the Braves is Alex Verdugo. He played 5 innings in the field on Friday, went 0 for 2 at the plate, and had a weak ground out and a pop out in that one. Played 7 innings in the field on Friday and went 1 for 3 at the plate with a strikeout and a run scored. He doubled on a ball, hit 106.1 miles per hour, and had a weak ground out in that one. And maybe you're just not as excited about Alex Verdugo, and I understand that. But I do think he is an upgrade over Jared Kelenic. I said that when they signed Alex Verdugo for what this team needs. Look, I'm all for buying on the potential of Jared Kelenic, and maybe it's still there, but he hasn't shown us enough to warrant him continuing to get starts against right-handed pitching. And Alex Verdugo is coming off a tough year. I get that. But going back to his years previously, he's been a guy that, and even last year, a guy that at least will put the ball in play, a lower strikeout rate. So you go from a guy in Jared Kelenic who's striking out 30 to 40% of the time right now to a guy in Alex Verdugo who in his career is striking out 16 to 18% of the time. And so you're getting a guy in Verdugo who will at the very least put the ball in play. It's not the highest on-base percentage in the world for Alex Verdugo, but in his career, it's a 320, 330 on-base type of guy. The one thing you do lose between him and Jared Kelenic is Kelenic does at least give you a little bit of speed, and Verdugo's not necessarily going to bring you that. But I do think for what I've been saying and what I think this lineup needs, instead of getting those guys at the bottom of the lineup that might run into one, Arcia, you put him at the bottom of the lineup all year, he's going to run into 15 to 18 home runs. You put Jared Kelenic at the bottom of the lineup, and over the year, he's going to hit, 15 to 20 home runs. But they're also going to strike out a ton, and they're not going to give you much else outside of that. But you get a guy in Verdugo at the bottom of the order, a guy who can put the ball in play, a guy who can, get on base and do some of that for you, I think is what the bottom of this order needs. And again, it's not a big walk rate for Alex Verdugo. It's pretty similar to where Jared Kelenic's been in his career, maybe even a little lower, but it's a 15% strikeout rate on the career for Alex Verdugo. So he's going to be able to put the ball in play for you, which I think is what this lineup needs at the bottom, to get on base, to move runners, and to set the guys up at the top. So I just think with where those two players are right now, I think Verdugo's bat's a little bit more needed and a better fit. Like I've said with Nick Allen, I just think it's a better fit for the bottom of this order instead of giving you guys at the bottom that, could maybe, like I said, run into a home run every now and then, giving you some guys at the bottom of the order that can put the bat on the ball. I think that's going to be big for this team and big for this lineup. So maybe not the most exciting return. I know he hasn't been with the Braves, but maybe not the most exciting player to get to insert into your order. He's also a very fiery guy. which can be good for this clubhouse. Maybe kind of, inject some energy into them a little bit, as Alex Verdugo has done for teams in the past. It's rubbed some people the wrong way, mostly opposing teams and players, but I think that could help as well. But again, just that difference of type of bat that Alex Verdugo is, I think is going to be helpful. Sean Murphy's already been reactivated and will be back on Tuesday. He got 3 at-bats on Friday, caught 7 innings in that one. Overall, he went 2 for 10 in 3 rehab games with a home run, no walks, 1 strikeout. Kind of feels like they're bringing him back quick. Snit said he'd need to go back-to-back catch 9 innings in back-to-back games. He caught back-to-back games of 7 innings, so I guess that's close enough. I'm really curious to see how they handle the catching rotation. Obviously, with Chadwick Trump getting DFA'd, that means that Drake Baldwin's going to stay around. My guess is they treat it just like they have the last couple of years with Sean Murphy and Travis d'Arnaud, and that it's going to be a split every other day. I've made it known I don't like that, and I don't think that's conducive to getting a player on track. But you also just can't have Drake Baldwin sitting on the bench for 2-3 days at a time either. You want to get his bat in the lineup. That's why you're keeping him around. And I can understand Braves fans maybe not being as excited about Sean Murphy coming back, because many of us, despite Drake Baldwin not getting the results, are excited with what we've seen from Drake Baldwin. And he is that type of bat. I'm talking about the difference between having a guy that's, an all or nothing type of bat like Sean Murphy is, to a guy that can do different things for you like Drake Baldwin can. And Sean Murphy is certainly, more like that bat that's an all or nothing, although he will take his walks and get on base, but it's not necessarily a contact oriented type of hitter like Drake Baldwin is. You could also play matchups because it is a righty lefty matchup there. But again, my guess right now is that it's just going to be an every other day situation. Maybe they will try to play some matchups if there is a situation where you can start Drake Baldwin against a righty. I think they would do that, and Sean Murphy against the lefty. But I think it's going to be more of a time split for the moment between those two. But either way, getting Sean Murphy back, even if you don't love his bat, he's great at calling games behind the plate. Not that Drake Baldwin's been bad there, but Sean Murphy is elite, and he's good at holding runners, and has a really good arm. And these pitchers need all the help that they can get behind the plate at holding down base runners. And then finally, Ronald Acuna Jr. I know he's a little bit further away, but he is heading out to Los Angeles soon. I've seen some reports that say could be this week or in the next couple of days. I haven't heard any reliable sources say that. The only thing I've heard from reliable sources is that it's going to happen soon. But hopefully it is this week, and hopefully he gets a good report. If he does, then he can start outfield activities and drills, which means he can then very closely after that start a rehab assignment. I still believe we're looking at early to mid-May return for Ronald, but he is very much needed. Out of all 4 of these guys, I think Ronald, and this may be one of those nod statements, I think he is the most needed just because this lineup needs some sort of spark. And I think Ronald can obviously give them that. So hopefully he does get the all clear whenever he has that evaluation in Los Angeles, and hopefully that leads to a quick rehab assignment for him and gets him back into the Braves lineup very soon, because he is much needed right now for this Braves offense. So again, there's 4 guys that in the next couple of weeks to a month could be returning for this Braves team and give them the boost that they need to get on track. And next, we'll take a look at the minor league level. You had all 4 full season teams in action this past week and weekend. We'll cover all of that here next on the Braves Post podcast. Looking for a snack that's both delicious and nutritious? Crack into a good source of protein with Wonderful Pistachios. Wonderful Pistachios is one of the highest protein nuts. Each 1 ounce serving has 6 grams of protein, giving you over 10% of your daily value. Plus, they're packed with fiber and better for you unsaturated fats to help keep you feeling fuller longer. Personally, I love the no shells variety. It's the perfect grab and go snack for busy days, whether I'm snacking at my desk, putting the podcast together, on a road trip, or just need a quick protein boost. They're always my go-to. But if you love cracking open every shell for that satisfying crunch, the in-shell options are a classic favorite. Wonderful Pistachios is a complete protein providing all 9 essential amino acids. Whether you're running between meetings or dropping off the kids, Wonderful Pistachios are the snack that works as hard as you do. Get snackin and get crackin with the snack that packs a protein punch. Visit wonderfulpistachios.com to learn more. Well, thank you as always for making Locked On Braves your first listen of each and every day. Make sure you go check out Locked On MLB for your second listen, solely keeping you up to date with everything happening around Major League Baseball. And Lindsay and others keeping you updated on what's happening with every single game every night on the MLB Game Night podcast. So make sure you check that out as well. Let's get into our Minors Monday segment here. As I traditionally do every season on a Monday, I'm going to go through each level of the Braves minor league organization and hit some of the highlights that we've seen from the prior week. The Gwinnett Stripers went 3-2 this past week, so we got a winning week there for the Stripers, which is good. They played Nashville, the Brewers' AAA affiliate. They did have a rainout on Sunday, as did Mississippi and obviously Atlanta. Big hitters for the week at Gwinnett. Luke Waddell, 7 for 17 with 5 walks, 1 strikeout. He did get caught stealing. Charles LeBlanc, 4 for 12 with a double, 3 walks, and he got caught stealing. So it's not just at the major league level. Nobody in the Brave system knows how to steal bases. Jose Devers was 3 for 8 with a double, a home run in 2 games, but he didn't play after April 2nd. So there might be an injury there. A bit unfortunate. It's playing some second base. Might have been, one of the, second or third on the depth chart there to get some starts on the infield for the Atlanta Braves. So hopefully he's okay. Pitchers at AAA, Hurston Waldrop with a great start. 5 innings, 3 hits, 1 walk, 1 hit batter, 1 earned run, 7 strikeouts. The four-seamer averaged 96.5 miles per hour, topped at 98.1, and averaged 16 inches of induced vertical break. 14 whiffs on 36 pitches. That's a 39% whiff rate, which is really good. 4 of 8 on the splitter and the curveball. So good to see him get some swings and misses on something other than that splitter. 34% CSW percentage. That's called strike plus whiff rate. 77 pitches, 49 strikes is a very good ratio. However, I don't want to pour a bunch of cold water on this, but you look at the chart of where his pitches landed relative to the strike zone, and they're all over the place. 33 of 76 pitches landed in the strike zone. That means 43 were outside of the strike zone. That's not a great rate. And you get a team in this AAA team at Nashville for the Brewers. I don't recognize a lot of names on there, so it might not be the best offensive AAA lineup. And maybe they were a bit more prone to chase pitches. It seems like that was the case in this one. So look, a great start. And if you get a start like that against a team that will chase a little bit more, then I think Hurston Waldrop can have some success. The one thing I will say is that at least the four-seamer, for the most part, stayed out of the middle of the zone. Most of them were either, up at the top of the zone, inside to righties, or down. So that's good to see. You left way too many curveballs over the middle of the plate. But if you're pairing that and tunneling that with that fastball up above the zone, that can be okay. And you can buckle some hitters like that. So again, I don't want to be too critical. It was ultimately a good start for Hurston Waldrop, but just looking at, where the pitches were relative to the zone, it's still just kind of all over the place for him. And I didn't get to watch it. So again, I'm taking this all just from the data and the numbers, the final line looked really good. So we're going to take that as a win for Hurston Waldrop for now. Jordan Weems, who might be the next reliever up in my mind. He was the guy I had predicted to make the opening day roster at the beginning of spring training. He had a good week, 2 1/3 innings, no hits, 1 walk, no earned, 3 strikeouts. Anoli Paredes might be on that list as well. 3 games, he pitched 4 1/3 innings, allowed 3 hits, did walk 3 batters, no 1 runs, but had 7 strikeouts. Domingo Gonzalez, he had a rough first outing of the year, but then he posted back-to-back scoreless, hitless outings with 4 strikeouts combined. Nathan Wiles pitched 4 innings, no hits, 1 walk, no earned, and 5 strikeouts. And then finally, Brian Moran, 2 innings, 1 hit, no walks, no earned, and 4 strikeouts. So some good pitching performances at Gwinnett this past week, which is nice to see. Now going down to Columbus, and I'll be honest, I'm sitting here Googling for Mississippi Braves stats, trying to pull up their stats for the past week, and I completely forgot about the Columbus Clingstones. 0-2, they got rained out on Sunday. Hitters for the weekend, Carlos Rodriguez, outfielder, had 3 hits, 1 walk, 2 runs, a stolen base, and got caught stealing. Cal Conley, 3 hits, a walk, 2 runs, and 3 stolen bases, played shortstop. Had a good spring training. Cal Conley 2 years ago was a prospect that looked like maybe he had a chance to be a utility player. Really struggled at the beginning of last year, kind of came on late, had a good spring training, and now he seems to be off to a good start. It's 2 games right now. But again, you combine that with spring training, and perhaps there's something here with Cal Conley. I don't think he's a shortstop long term, but I think he and Luke Waddell are both guys that could be, utility bench type of players that can play all over the infield for you, do some of the small things, steal some bases, put the ball in play. I think they could be serviceable guys for them, be, Nick Allen types of players. Not quite the defense level of a Nick Allen, but those bench utility type of players, which can be very valuable. James McCann had 2 hits, including a double, and David McCabe had 2 hits, including the first Clingstone home run ever. So that's pretty exciting there for David McCabe. The pitching side of things for Columbus, Drew Hackenberger, rough first start. 2 innings, 4 hits, 2 walks, 4 earned, 4 strikeouts. Landon Harper went 3 innings in relief, 2 hits, 1 walk, no earned, 5 strikeouts. Lucas Braun had a solid first outing, 6 innings, 6 hits, 1 walk, 3 earned, and 9 strikeouts. Hayden Harris, a little surprised they started him at Double-A. Really feel like he's proven everything he needs to at Double-A, but that's where they put him, and he has a good week. 2 innings, no hits, no walks, no earned, and 3 strikeouts. Ellison Joseph, who's a good arm for the bullpen that I like, that possibly could get a chance at some point this year. He did take the loss on Saturday. Now, to be fair, it was a 1-run lead. He was protecting in extra innings with the Manfred runner. He walked the first batter, which sometimes you do intentionally to set up the double play, but then he gave up a double to Homer Bush, TCU standout, and the runner scored from first, and they lost the game. So a bit of a tough blown save there for Ellison Joseph, who is an arm that I like. Rome Emperors went 1 for 2 against Winston-Salem over the weekend. Patrick Klowizy had a good week, 4 for 10, a double, 2 walks, 3 RBIs, bat they drafted last year. Lissandro Espinoza, I posted about this on X. He started the first 2 games at shortstop over Ambioris Taveras. He's a Rule 5 pick in the minors portion from the Cardinals. And I think maybe him starting at shortstop over Taveras is maybe just to see what he has there. They know Taveras, obviously, I hope they know, is a very good defensive shortstop. But Espinoza, 4 for 11, 2 doubles, a walk, 2 strikeouts. He did get caught stealing, so somebody else they're going to have to try to teach how to steal bases maybe. But he started 2 games at shortstop, as I mentioned, and then started a game in center field. So this could be an interesting player to watch as somebody that has that versatility, that can play shortstop and center field, that athleticism that we've been looking for. And he's off to a pretty good start at the plate. And again, somebody they took in the Rule 5 draft, the minor league portion, so you don't have to offer him back. He doesn't have any roster limitations. He's just in the Brave system now. And maybe this could be a surprise player for them that they can turn into something. So could be somebody to monitor. EJ Exposito, 3 for 11, a double, a homer, 2 walks, and a stolen base. He's a guy that got off to a hot start last year, showing some power, showing some speed, and a guy that, has some tools. And then he really cooled off in the second half. So keep an eye on him this year. Pitchers, this rotation should be great this year. It was an awful start for Garrett Ballman, Didier Fuentes, and J.R. Ritchie were all pretty bad to begin the season at Rome. Ballman went 3 1/3 innings, 5 hits, 4 walks, 7 earned runs, and 4 strikeouts. You saw this with Ballman in that showcase game where he struggled with command, and that's never been an issue for him in his brief minor league career. And now you see it in his first start. So that's something to keep an eye on. Didier Fuentes, who was the talk of the town in that showcase game, he only lasted 2 innings, gave up 3 hits, 3 walks, 4 earned, did have 4 strikeouts. And then J.R. Ritchie, maybe a little bit better than the other 2, 4 innings, 3 hits. He did walk 3, which again, he's a control pitcher. So it's surprised to see him with that many walks. But he only allowed 2 earned runs, but he also only had 2 strikeouts. Ryan Barroso went 2 innings, a hit, no walks, no earned, and 5 strikeouts. And then Corey Wall, an inning and a third, no hits, no walks, no earned, and 3 strikeouts. So again, that Rome pitching staff should be really great, especially early on in the season, but not a good first start for some of the Braves' top pitching prospects there. And then finally down at Augusta, they are 2-1 this past week. Eric Hartman could be a name to keep an eye on. He was 6 for 14 over the weekend, a double, 2 home runs, a walk, 2 strikeouts, and a stolen base. 20th round pick last year. He's getting a lot of buzz early on. Again, it's only 3 games, but I've already heard it from multiple sources now that I really trust, that it's a guy that has a really good swing. He's an outfielder. I think he actually did play some second base a little bit briefly last year in his professional debut, but playing in left field so far to begin this season. So Eric Hartman could be a name to keep an eye on. Owen Carey, 4 for 13, 3 doubles, 4 RBIs. Isaiah Drake, 4 for 7, 4 runs, a walk, 2 strikeouts, and 2 stolen bases. Obviously a very toolsy kid out of the Atlanta area. Really rough start to his professional career, striking out a ton. But if he can figure that out, there's a lot of tools and a lot of upside there for Isaiah Drake. So a good start for him. Colby Jones, really good bat. I like they drafted last year, 4 for 11, 4 runs, a triple, 2 walks, 3 strikeouts, 2 stolen bases. And then John Gill, he only had 2 hits and 2 walks. Might be the best bat at Augusta right now. but he drove in 4, he scored twice, and he stole 5 bases. And then some bad news on the hitting side. Luis Guaniva got hit on the hand in Sunday's game, appeared to be in a lot of pain. So we'll have to watch for that and see if he's back in the lineup this week or what the results are with that. But he did stay in the game for a moment and then eventually left. But hopefully he's okay. On the pitching side of things, not a lot to talk about at Augusta. Logan Samuels, though, was really good. 5 innings, 1 hit, no walk, no earned, 4 strikeouts. Hopefully this week we get to see the debuts for Luke Sennard, Jeremy Reyes, and Ethan Bagwell, who we didn't see over the weekend, but are some exciting pitchers at Augusta. So that's your minor league recap for the week. Again, we'll have all those teams in action Tuesday through Sunday this upcoming week. So we'll have a lot more to discuss. But every Monday, we're keeping you up to date on everything happening down on the farm. Next, we'll talk about all the Braves news, including an old veteran who is back in the system. You shouldn't be surprised and already know who it is, but I'll tell you right after this. Ever check your bank account and wonder where did all the money go? I did that just yesterday after a pretty rough weekend. But between dining out, online shopping, and entertainment, it's easy to lose track. That's where Monarch Money comes in, your personal CFO, giving you full visibility and control over your finances. Monarch Money isn't just a budgeting app, it's a complete financial command center. You can track all your accounts, investments, and spending in one place so you can stop just managing your money and start building wealth. Managing money with your partner is smoother than ever. You can track shared and personal accounts, set goals, and stay on the same page without the stress. As somebody who has been married for almost 10 years now, finances can be a big problem in any marriage, and Monarch Money can certainly help you out there. Take control of your finances with Monarch Money. Use code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com. You're going to get 50% off your first year. Again, that's code LOCKEDONMLB at monarchmoney.com for 50% off your first year. One more time, monarchmoney.com, code LOCKEDONMLB for half off your first year. Well, in the most unsurprising news ever, Jesse Chavez is back on a minor league deal with the Atlanta Braves. He did elect free agency, but I guess all the other teams in baseball have realized that he just can't pitch outside of Atlanta. So he does come back for the Atlanta Braves and will be in the minor league system. We'll probably see him at some point this year. But again, it's just funny. We can't get rid of him. And not necessarily that I want to, but love having Jesse Chavez around. But he does come back on a minor league deal. Some other news around baseball before we preview Tuesday's game, which should be a fantastic pitching matchup. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. got 14 years, $500 million from the Blue Jays. It's a lot of money for a right-handed first baseman, but obviously great for Blue Jays fans. Exciting to keep your guy around. I get all that. I just feel like that deal is going to be pretty bad later on. He is very young. He just turned 26, so I'd get plenty of good years out of that deal. It's just some of these contracts that are being handed out right now, it's got to be addressed. I just don't think that's good for the game overall. And look, some people will complain that the Braves got all these hometown discounts on these guys while they're young, and that's not good for the game. But we're talking about $500, $700 million contracts over double-digit years. I don't know that's the right direction that we want to go in with the game. Blake Snell, unfortunately, lands on the injured list for the Dodgers with shoulder inflammation. So he's going to be, kind of dealing with the same thing that Ronaldo Lopez is right now. By the way, we should get an update on Ronaldo Lopez some point this week as he's having, as they're going to go in there and take a look at his shoulder to determine the extent of that injury there. And so we should get an update on him sometime this week. All right, now previewing Tuesday's matchup, the Phillies won a series at home against the Dodgers. That game on Sunday, they were up 6-2. They blew the lead against the Dodgers. You thought, okay, here come the Dodgers. They're going to take care of business. But the Phillies answered right back and won the game. So very impressive stuff there from the Phillies, who are playing good baseball. And again, they won that series at home against the Dodgers. And now you get Chris Sale versus Zack Wheeler, which should be a fantastic matchup. As for Chris Sale, he's been okay in his first 2 starts. I think both of them are 5 innings, 3 earned runs. Obviously, in his last one against the Dodgers, he was cruising through 5 innings. He looked like the Cy Young Sale, and then he just kind of lost it at the beginning of that 6th inning, hung a couple of sliders to Shohei Ohtani and Mookie Betts, and they made him pay. But otherwise, he looked like, the dominant version of Chris Sale. We're going to need that from him on Tuesday, because facing Zack Wheeler, and we all know how good Zack Wheeler is. I don't need to give you, the numbers and all of that on Zack Wheeler. He's gone 6 innings and 7 innings in his first 2 starts this year and given up just 1 run in each of them. He pitched against the Braves 3 times last year and allowed a combined 2 runs. And with the way the Braves offense is going right now, it's going to be hard for them to really get anything off of Zack Wheeler on Tuesday. So you're going to need Chris Sale to pretty much be perfect, hang around as long as he can, and keep the team in the game. But it's another big test for this Braves offense. Can they battle Zack Wheeler? Can they make him throw a bunch of pitches and try to get him out of the game? Can they claw and fight and find a way to score 1 or 2 runs without getting a home run, which you're not likely going to get against Zack Wheeler? Can they do that? It's going to be a big test for them on Tuesday. You got 2 off days now to prepare for it. So again, while I'm not confident about it, I am somewhat excited to see this opportunity for them. Again, they know the struggles they're having. I pointed them all out on yesterday's podcast. You want to go back and give that a listen. So I'm excited to see what that looks like against Zack Wheeler, and if they can continue to make these adjustments. And really, as I said yesterday, it comes down to pitch recognition. They're taking more pitches, they're working deeper counts, but they're swinging at the wrong pitches. They're still swinging at too many pitches outside of the zone and taking too many pitches in the zone. You can be aggressive in the zone early in counts. The issue that you have is, if you're going to do that, can you then battle back in a count? If you fall behind 0-1, 1-2, can you battle back to a 2-2, 3-2 count and wait till you get that pitch in the zone that you can drive? That's not what we see from this Braves team up and down the lineup, but that's where they're trying to get to, and it'll be a big test for them against Zack Wheeler. I guess the one thing is, the Phillies had to use a lot of their big bullpen options in that Dodgers series. There's a lot of close games, but you obviously get the off day for them on Monday to rest those guys up. But big challenge, but obviously as a baseball fan, should be a great game. Chris Sale versus Zack Wheeler. So looking forward to that and looking forward to the series. But I'll be honest, I'm not all that confident going into the series against the Phillies right now, but we'll break this down in more detail on the crossover episode that I'll do with Connor. That'll be posted on Tuesday morning. But that will do it for this episode of Locked On Braves. Thanks so much for joining me today. Subscribe on YouTube if you're new. Hit that thumbs up button. Leave me a comment down below. Follow us on social media at shortstopball, at LockedOn_Braves. And make sure that you rate, review, and subscribe to the Locked On Braves podcast wherever you get your podcast. And we will talk to you next time.